prayer in the field of silence, when the heart and mind remember wholeness. In the deep stillness, where breath slows and the rushing noise of the world falls away, there is a quiet returning. A return not to something new but to something ancient and always present. The remembrance of coherence, the rhythm of wholeness, the silent dance between the heart and the mind. It is here, in this sacred field, that healing begins, not through force or struggle, but through surrender to the harmony that was always meant to guide the human journey. There are seasons when the heart forgets its song, when the mind forgets its spaciousness, when the body is pulled into the restless tides of survival. The signals of stress, the racing pulse, the shallow breath, the tightened chest, become familiar companions. In such moments, the heart falters, its rhythm erratic and tense, its energy lost to the hunger of urgency. The mind, too, spirals into fragmentation, leaping from thought to thought, consumed by the endless noise of problems to solve, threats to avoid, futures to fear. This is the state of incoherence, a state that whispers of separation, that tells the body it is not safe, that convinces the mind that it must control, defend, and brace. In this state, the heart no longer sings its clear note, and the mind no longer sees beyond the narrow walls of the present dilemma. The body, too, begins to bear the weight of this forgetting, cells trembling with the residue of stress, genes expressing imbalance, the system straining under the chemistry of fear and resistance. But in the field of silence, another way is always possible. The breath slows. The awareness turns inward. The hands of time loosen their grip. And something ancient begins to stir. The heart, the true center, begins to remember its coherence. The erratic beats soften into rhythm. The storm of the mind begins to settle. The breath deepens. Energy that was once scattered begins to return, to gather, to rise. As the heart finds its order, a magnetic field begins to emerge, not merely an idea but a living pulse, measurable and real. This field is the language of the heart speaking to the body, to the brain, to the invisible world beyond skin and bone. It signals that the past has ended, that this moment is new, that it is safe to create. And when the heart beats in order, when elevated emotions, gratitude, kindness, compassion, fill its rhythm, the brain responds in kind. No longer caught in the high-alert frequencies of survival, the brain settles into coherence. Thoughts slow. Awareness expands. The compartments of the mind, once firing in chaotic isolation, begin to harmonize. A rhythm ancient as the stars is restored. In this coherence, the entire body listens. The genes shift their expression, tuning themselves to the signals of peace rather than fear. The immune system strengthens. Healing begins not through chemicals alone, but through the gentle power of inner harmony. The cells remember what the mind had forgotten, that they are not separate. That all healing is the restoration of connection, to the self, to the field, to the intelligence that holds all life in quiet balance. And in this sacred field, something even greater awakens. The heart, as it sustains coherence, becomes the compass for creation. The mind, clear and ordered, becomes the visionary. Together they generate a signal, a living electromagnetic signature, that reaches beyond the boundaries of matter, into the quantum field of possibility. Here thought sends the signal. Emotion draws the experience back. This is the alchemy of conscious creation, to hold a clear intention in the mind, and to marry it with the elevated emotion of the heart. To not merely think the future but to feel it as though it has already arrived. To remember the future so vividly that the body, the unconscious mind, begins to live it now. And the field listens. The distance between thought and experience begins to collapse. Synchronicities arise. Unexpected, graceful moments where the invisible becomes visible, where what once seemed far is drawn near. Healing unfolds. Realities shift. Time bends. And the body itself transforms, informed by this new information, this new electromagnetic signature of wholeness. Even the biology obeys. Genes for health awaken. Stem cells activate. The immune system flourishes. Pain dissolves. The mind, quieted from the tyranny of stress, grows new pathways, new connections. The heart, in its coherence, emits fields of love so profound that the chemistry of the entire being changes. Even the very fabric of identity shifts. The old self, woven from stories of lack, fear, resentment, begins to dissolve and a new self emerges, lighter, freer, truer. This is not metaphor. It is biology. It is science. It is the living testimony of those who have crossed the threshold from victimhood to creation, from disease to health, from fragmentation to unity. The process, though simple, is not always easy. The body, long addicted to the familiar emotions of survival, resists the new. The mind clings to the old narratives. The cells themselves crave the chemical comfort of anger, fear, sorrow. And yet the invitation remains, to return again and again to coherence, to breathe into the heart, to quiet the mind, to step into the vastness of the field where all is possible. For in the act of forgiveness, true forgiveness, the emotional charge of the past is finally laid down. The story loses its hold. The body, released from the biochemical chains of old emotions, is free to heal. In the absence of emotional wounds, wisdom blooms. The memory remains, but it no longer carries the weight of pain. It becomes instead a teacher, a quiet guide. In this way, the heart remembers love. The mind remembers peace. And the body remembers how to thrive. May coherence awaken in the heart and in the mind. May the storms of survival dissolve into stillness. May elevated emotions flow, gratitude, compassion, joy, lifting the body into a new rhythm. May the mind release its grasp on old stories and open to the field of infinite possibility. May the biology respond with vitality, with balance, with renewal. May forgiveness lighten the weight of the past. May the future be remembered, not as something distant, but as something already lived within. May the field receive this signal and return it in grace. May the new self rise, gentle and radiant, born from the unity of heart and mind.